Pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Like, you want me to come up there?
What?
I got all this room to myself.
All right.
Even it out.
We'll start action here. Can I get a motion to approve the village board meeting minutes from May 16th, 2019?
Second.
Questions, changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Citizen comments. Anybody wishing to address the board? Come up to our microphone, give us your name, address, and what you got to say.
I'm Sue McManus, and I'm with the Peony Fest over at the museum at the Jacksboro Schoolhouse. And this was our 20th annual Peony Fest. We've been in the schoolhouse since 1986, thanks to the largesse of the village of Baldwinsville. But I want to give you a special thank you because this year the weather was gorgeous, and I know that was local vote, right?
We voted on that.
Yeah. It was great because it was a singular day for this spring. But the village overall, over the years, not just for Peony Fest, has been so helpful and supportive of the museum and our endeavor to carry on what was the mission of the Bicentennial Committee here in the village. So I'm here to thank you. The park looks great. We feel secure because when we have an issue, the police department responds. Oh, and every time now that I think about it, we had a little issue. But it's wonderful, and we rely on your continual support. The cones that the DPW provides so we can have safe parking. And I know that people are being pressed at the last minute to do these things. So we just wanted to say thank you for all you've done over the years and the village benefits and the whole community benefits. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Sue, can you come to every meeting, or at least more meetings, because that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, you make us feel so good.
You do so much for the village too, and we, thank you in return.
Well, and we can have a mutual admiration party later.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, anybody else? I'm going to take a minute. I'm up front. Steve, you can come up with me.
You want to run the video first, Dick?
You want to do that first?
Yeah.
All right, let's run the video first. This is I'll explain it because you might not understand what video this has to do, but the DPW, led by Danny Weir, devised a new device that makes it safer getting plow blades off of trucks, right?
Right.
And transporting them to where they are kept. And Steve did a video of how it works, submitted it to the Cornell Local Roads Program, and we came in first place in the Build a Better Mousetrap competition. That's the general name, but come up with something that makes your place operate better. So with Danny leading the way, they came up with this cart, and if we can play the video, it'll explain how it works. It just kind of goes around in a circle.
There it is.
That is a mousetrap. So pause.
Our IT guy will take care of this.
Should be.
Well, while he's doing that, I'll tell you a little bit more about it. The Cornell Local Roads, they run a highway program, and they have this Build a Better Mousetrap project. And the intention of this is to have a low-cost improvement that you do in your highway department that is easily transferable to any other department. That's one of the keys to this little competition. Danny could describe it better, but he was looking through a magazine, saw something in the background of a photograph. He thought it looked like something that would be an easy way to transport the wing of our plows. Now, you gotta realize these wings weigh 400 pounds? Yeah, 400 to 600 pounds. And the issue with them is that they're difficult to handle, to get on and off the plow trucks, but they also present a safety situation. You know, you can imagine a plow wing dropping on someone's foot or hitting them in the shin could result in a serious injury to one of the employees. So Danny took this idea of this cart and transformed it into a little bit more than just a means of moving these things around, but also as the opportunity to act as the safe way of taking them off and putting them onto the plow truck. And a key element of this is that when it's on the cart, it's secured to the cart. There's a mechanism which secures it so that it can't fall over. And when you move it up to the truck to put it on, it stays secured to the cart until it's secured to the truck. And after it's secured to the truck, you can then disengage it from the cart. And then vice versa, when you take it off, it's secured to the truck, you put the cart underneath it, and you secure it to the cart before you ever disengage it from the truck. The point being is that this thing is never in a position to fall over and injure someone. So not only is it much easier, it is far safer to handle these 400, 500, or 600 pound pieces of equipment that, because of their nature, they're a plow blade, they present a substantial opportunity for risk to our employees.
How were you handling them before?
What they would do before is they would drop them onto a wheel hub and then move them with a fork truck and then move them to another location, move the wheel hubs, drop them down onto the wheel hub. The wheel hubs were cut out, we torched out a groove so that they set into this groove, but still they presented the opportunity for them to fall over. And when you picked them up to the fork truck and transported them, they were, I don't know, did we secure them to the truck?
Well, they hung by a chain.
Oh, okay, so we slung them and,
Yeah.
okay, but they still, there was always, you know, some potential energy there. There's always a possibility of these things falling. By the nature of what you're doing, someone has to be close to them in order to connect them to the truck and such. So right now, these things are never elevated. They're always supported by something when it's doing. Can you run it? Let's take a look at, this will
I'm just gonna
give you
say I
a
hope
little
so.
sense.
And we wanted to shoot a little innovative idea developed by a couple of our DPW employees. And it's just a safer manner in which to handle and store our wings off of our plow trucks. In a minute now, you'll be introduced to some of our DPW employees, and we'll show you how we use these carts that we fabricated to take off, properly store, and safely handle our wings off of our plow trucks.
A couple of things about the video is, one, that part where Adam got hung up with that one pin. Rarely does that happen, just as luck would have it. And the day that you want to make a video, it did get hung up. The other thing is while we had a group of people there working, often we do this with just 2 people, someone in the truck and one other person doing it. And we feel comfortable with doing that because it's safe. We think that this method is safe enough. The other thing that I'm quite proud of that they did here was, if you take a look at that piece of equipment, that cart, it looks as though it came from a fabrication shop or something like that. If you were to compare that to the other participants in this, there were 4 other, 2 counties and 1 other village that participated in this competition from across the state. Their pieces of equipment looked like they were some prototype built in high school metal shop, to be honest. I mean, one was a piece of bent metal to have something to do with laying out how they did an excavator blade. Another one was a tool being used to spray salt brine on a sidewalk, and it was a modification to their brine solution distributor. It was cobbed together piping. And another one that was for knocking back the shelf on a snow windrow. These were all, you know, they cobbed something together in their shop. The reason that ours looks the way that it does is for a couple reasons. One is that thanks to the support from the board for buying some equipment, we now own a plasma cutter and a MIG welder, and we have some talented people who can fabricate that cart that looks like it came from a fab shop. It looks like something that you would buy possibly out of a catalog. It was made in our shop and painted. So I'm very proud of that, how it came. And we were the winners of the states, and we are now going on to a national competition. And if Dick, if you'd like to present that to Danny, that'd be great.
Are you filing for a patent?
Well, why not?
Somebody's gonna steal that.
I would say that I knew you when you were like almost his size, your son's size, and he was lived next door to my family, and very proud of how you've grown up and what you've done for the village, and I know Steve is proud of you, and just, I couldn't be more pleased to shake your hand and present you this, and get a good picture for the. I said his name. In case I didn't say that, that's Danny Weir, who I was talking about before. And, how long you been with the DPW, Dan?
A little over 26 years.
Wow. Well, it's our good that you're here. So thank you very much. And I know we have other workers who are qualified in other areas who save us a lot of money and do us proud all the time. So, you know, there's a lot of times when you sit in this chair, you catch a lot of heat from people around the area for this and that. Sometimes it's nothing we have anything to do with. So when you have this kind of opportunity to pat somebody on the back and say thank you, it's makes the job kind of special. Anybody else wishing to address the board? Give us your name and address and what's on.
Winters, I'm at 13 Lee Ridge, which is over in Baldwin Hills. And we have a resident that's farming bees. So we'd like to have that added to like agricultural so that, you know, we aren't farming animals and stuff in our neighborhoods.
What does he get, bees?
Bees. At first it was like one little box. It's grown to be, you know, I got 2 little guys, so.
All right, right now there's,
I'm not sure that there's, I mean, it's not listed as a farm animal that I know of.
No, I've done some research, it isn't.
Yeah.
all right, well, that's the first I've heard of it, so we'll talk and.
So just so you're aware, we have an autistic child living behind that house and one living across from, a new baby, 2 kids under 5 years old, all within 150 feet of this thing, so.
Okay,
it's a problem.
thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
Appreciate letting us know about it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's something I would look into. Right now, our code doesn't address it. I've seen beehives over on Division Street as well, behind a house. Pretty large, deep lot over there, but,
Okay. And we will look into it, though.
Okay, what's the process for something like this?
I was gonna ask the same question. I mean, how is that different from somebody owning a snake or something else to be?
It's a safety issue. I think we can look at different parts of the code just to see if there's something else.
right,
that might come into
this
play.
body's got a,
Yeah.
I guess, all of us, but this body would have to make.
Yeah, we can look at the code to see if there's just a general statement in there that might talk about things that present a general hazard to the public, to see whether or not that applies. If it doesn't, we can look at other municipalities, urban municipalities, to see whether or not they've addressed it. It might talk about allowing such a thing, provided that there's a certain setback. So if you have a large enough parcel, and these things can be set back 80 feet from any of your property line, maybe that's okay. We would have to see, and I just throw that number out, not because it means anything, because I'm just saying a number. So we would need to look at it, or maybe it's something that needs to be excluded from an urban area. I don't know, but I mean, the next step would be to look in to see whether or not, what the hazard that it presents to the general public, and see how we can control that hazard, certainly.
Is the yard in question here fenced? I mean, is there access,
There's
just open
one-
access?
No, it is not. There's just one bordering fence, but it's not enclosed. But, it's about 20 feet from my pool. So every time we go swimming, we get all these it's frustrating, that's all.
Yeah.
Which side of the street is that on?
So
If
13,
your back is facing Ronway.
right, the right side of the street.
He's your neighbor.
He's my neighbor.
That's what he said.
Oh, you are? Nice to meet you.
No bees in my neighborhood, or no bees at my house, please.
You're back down at Ronway, though?
Yeah, but I'm up,
Okay, so
up
if you
up on the
walk
hill.
up, it's, there's a gray house and a yellow house, it's right in between, it's a brown house. And behind, you can see it, when you walk, or when you come in Shriver, if you just walk down Shriver and you keep looking to the left, you can't miss it. I mean, it's this big brown box with these shelves and, drips of honey and,
My dad had them as we were growing up, but he had 7 acres in the village, and it was way out. So I appreciate the being able to have them, but still having a setback to.
I mean, if it wasn't a hazard, they wouldn't go out there with these giant bee suits on. I mean, my neighbor's putting on these cascading, nets. So, I mean, if they're not dangerous, just go out there and grab them then, So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to put that type of gear on to go near them, a 5-year-old doesn't know any better, We don't know if he's allergic yet, but I don't want to find out, especially in my own yard by my pool.
Do you know if that honey is prepared for sale?
You know what? We don't talk much, so I don't. I know he gives it to some of the other neighbors, but I don't know if he sells it. They have an Onondaga County business tag in their window, so maybe. I don't know.
Very good.
All right, thanks.
Thanks for telling
Thanks
us.
for listening to me.
Yep. All right. Move on to trustees' comments. We'll start with Mark.
I think I'll just stick with the agenda tonight. Thank you.
Ruth?
Agenda, please.
Bruce?
No stinging remarks here.
Ah, nice.
Mike?
Megan's not here tonight, but I would wish her a happy belated birthday this week. Other than that, the agenda's fine with me.
All right. I have a couple things. This was presented to me, and I don't want you to zoom in on or anything, but it's just like 12 properties in the village who need their lawns mowed. And this is after some of them have been mowed, other places. There were more than this. The grass grows every year. We've had a parade for 700 years, and the grass has grown every one of those years in May. There's really not much excuse for people letting their lawns get over a foot high and being a nuisance to everybody in the area. Take care of your lawns, please. That's all I got to say about that.
Can I see that list?
Well, you want to see if you're on it, Mike?
No, but I know where they're, I know I pass one on the way home every day.
We got a nice compliment the other day, and because I don't get over that way much at nighttime, but we now have motion lights under the old Baldwin Canal Bridge next to Sheehan's. So when people walk under there at night, the lights come on, and a resident must have been going through there in the evening, and the lights came on, and they said, just loved it. They were trying to find out who to give credit to, so I told them Steve was the one that got the lights, and he didn't put them up, but he had them put up. And it's something that we have struggled with over the years because people are determined that when there's lights there that they're not going to stay there. And so they're up for now, and hopefully we can keep lights up there. It's always been a bad spot for a lot of graffiti and people hanging out under the bridge, and the lights go a long way to stopping some of that. It was a nice parade that we had last week. A lot of people out on the streets watching the parade. Weather was great for the parade. Some of us who were at the cemetery for the service afterwards, water was dripping off my tie, and I was soaked. But despite the fact that it cut back a little bit, the ceremony was just awesome as always, to recognize those who've given their life for our country. I didn't mind getting wet. And speaking of that, today is D-Day. I see the Syracuse paper has done a great job of highlighting the 75th anniversary of D-Day. This is a huge day in the history of our country, and a lot of bravery, and a lot of people who gave their lives that day, and a lot of people who did not come home from that event. And we're fortunate that people stick their neck out for us, and I just like to recognize all the people that had anything to do with D-Day. We'll move on to department heads. We'll start with our attorney, Bob.
I'll stick with the agenda. We've got a few items on.
Okay. Codes, Greg.
I think I'll stick with the agenda now.
Village clerk, Mo.
We received our proposed Excellus 2020 rates. So they're proposing a 7% increase for our co-pay plan, and for the health savings, they're proposing a 7.2% increase.
But they're gonna maintain the same plan.
Yes.
Okay.
This is like, what, November or something we have to do this? All right,
Yep.
that's not as bad as some. I mean, we've had 14%.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Nope, I think I'll stick to the agenda.
Treasurer,
Just have a couple things. First of all, you finally have your March financials for 1920. I'm working on the rest of them, but I'm also working on the annual report, so that comes first. So I'll get the rest of these to you as quick as I can. The other thing is, everyone should have in their mailbox a copy of our Lysander Water District escrow account. Every year I have to have an accounting sent to town supervisor of Lysander, and I just wanted everyone to see what I have sent. This is our second year with the escrow account. We have to put 80% of our base system fees into this account, and then you will see that I have the bank account and the bank, and also the system fees chart, so you can double check me to make sure everything's right. And I forward this to Mayor Saraceni.
Have we had to
supervisor.
utilize any of it for any work in those districts?
We have not. There was a question about we replaced a hydrant at one point, but it was so low cost that we ended up not tapping this account for that.
Okay.
Anything else, Anna?
Steve, you have a copy too, right? I put one in your box.
I probably brought it back up the highway garage.
Okay, just so you know that I did it. Okay.
Okay,
That's it, I'm good.
Okay, we'll move over to the other side of the aisle. Canton Woods, Ruth?
I do want to thank the village engineer for making sure that our parking lot got striped recently. It was needed, and we were having some interesting parking patterns for a while there, so thank you for taking care of that. It's a great help, and I appreciate it. Also, our summer entertainment series is started, and the next concert will be Thursday, June 27th at 3 o'clock. It's Rock Shadow. Come on in. Sponsored by the Hearth. They play, your basic rock that you're familiar with, so everyone's welcome. Come on in and enjoy that. And that's it, unless anyone has any questions.
Public Works, Steve. I'd just like to let the board know that my appreciation, and I'm sure it would be yours as well, to our water department for this last week. We had a contractor come in and clean and inspect Route 31 tank, which is something that I think has long been overdue. We're going to inspect that one this year and get the Route 48 tank done next year. But the process requires us to fill it and chlorinate it to a real high concentration and let it set for a period of time, take some samples, dump it again, refill it. And because of the Baldwin Hill pump station, we had to fill it at a very slow rate so that we still provided water to Baldwin Hill and Aspen Springs, but yet we're still feeding water into that tank. And it required our water department to work all weekend last weekend. And as you know Chuck very well, Chuck would not let that rest without him being there. He babysat that thing through the entire weekend. He had some other of the water employees, Matt, Brian, and Corey all assisted him. So just, I certainly appreciate the work they do. I wanted to let you know, and I think everyone does appreciate the work that they do. But when you talk about a public drinking water supply and someone who cares adamantly about it, you would appreciate knowing that Chuck is in charge of your water, because one of the concerns was whether or not, the highly chlorinated water could find its way into our drinking water supply. And he would not let that happen. He just, he could have filled that at a faster rate, and, which would have increased the risk of that happening. He was not going to allow it, even though it meant, it took him Thursday afternoon, all day Friday, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday to get that tank filled. So just, I thought you'd like to be aware of that. Appreciate that, and it just goes along with what I was saying. We have Danny and many others who contribute to our village and make it a lot better place to live. So thank the water guys from us, Steve. I will.
So we got a notice in the mail today that they're having a shutdown, which is great that they're doing it from like midnight to 4 in the morning, but is that associated with what you're...
It is, because we're refilling it now for the last time. We're required to fill it, chlorinate it very heavily, take some samples, then dump that water and refill it again. We're in that last filling process, and in order to speed up the process, what we're going to do at midnight, so someone's coming in at midnight tonight, two of the employees, is we're going to close the valve going to your pump station and then turn the pump on at a higher rate to fill the tank more quickly, so that this time we won't be here all weekend. We'll get the tank. I'm hoping that the tank is filled by 4 in the morning. And that was the purpose of that. So we do have a notice out to Aspen Springs and Baldwin Hill for notification of a possible shutdown for this evening. Very good. Chief, anything?
Yes, Mayor. There's a couple items on the agenda, but also I would like to at least recognize while Dan is here, there's other things that the DPW and members assist with. If you're in our police department lobby, there's some very nice display cases that were fabricated a number of years ago by Dan and I think Jeff Bordwell. And back in the day when Mace Markham was here, we called them Nobody Construction, because the joke was, whose job is that? It was nobody's. Well, it ended up falling always to those guys. And even to modern things of just something is, it might sound simple, but it really wasn't. Our needle collection box that we had to close for a period of time here in the Village Hall, it was not operating in a safe manner. Oftentimes the containers that were deposited in there would get hung up, which required a member of our department to open them up and in some way, shape, or form unstick those containers. Obviously, that's a very dangerous thing with those needles that are in there. We're not sure if any's loose. And so I actually decommissioned the box for a period of time. Members of the DPW took the box out of here, took it back up to their shop, did some work on it, made some modifications, put it back in, and we haven't had an issue since. So all those things that they might do that sometimes might go unseen I certainly appreciate their assistance to our department when we need them, and it's greatly appreciated. We did have a mock DWI today up at Baker High School. Officer Marty Knoll was the one that coordinated that. We had members of our department there. Marty's had me as the narrator for the last few years, which I always enjoyed doing. Members of the Ballsville Fire Department, the Belgium Cold Springs Fire Department, the Onondaga County Sheriff's Office, including Air One, Mauer Funeral Home, all assisted in participating in this. Also, Judge Hewling came in, and upon the completion of the DWI, also I would be remiss if I didn't mention Nobles as well, who donates a couple of wrecked vehicles to us for us to use at our crash site up at the school. It's a very involved, labor-intensive, time-intensive event, but it was interesting following the completion of it today. I was at local gym here working out, and there were two girls in the class with me who were high school seniors. And I talked to them and said, "What'd you think of it?" And they both said that it was an eye-opening experience, that they didn't realize all that was involved in a response to an incident where someone might be seriously injured or killed as a result of a DWI. Obviously, the senior ball's tomorrow, and our Officer Knoll spoke to the whole senior class in depth following Judge Hewling's arraignment of the person that we would quote-unquote arrested in the auditorium following the events outside. And some very poignant comments by him, and everyone there did a really great job, and we just hope that tomorrow night goes as smoothly as possible for our seniors, because we want all of them to obviously walk across that stage coming up later this month. And then last, Mayor, our police department, I know the village has had a Facebook page, but we launched our police department Facebook page a week ago today. On the 30th, right before the Memorial Day Parade. I did a live video on Facebook with a couple members of the VFW and American Legion, and it was a great, we felt it was a great day and a great way to kick off our Facebook page. And we've got over 260 people following us so far. So if you're on Facebook, please find us, like us, and follow us. We won't bombard you with or inundate you with messages every day, but we're going to try and provide pertinent, relative information to what's going on here in the village. If the DPW's got a water main break and a street are closed, when they notify us, we'll try and get that out on Facebook as well. But it's not going to be monitored 24/7, so if you're reporting a crime, please call 911 and we'll get a police officer there, because we've got a person responsible for that, but that individual doesn't work every day.
Very good, stepping up in the tech world, huh?
Well, we felt that having our own presence there would be beneficial to the community, and we could provide maybe a little different message that the village as a whole provides.
That's great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Certainly.
All right, we'll move on to pending business. Item A, annexation of Lysander Park, along with the agreement.
The annexation is completed. The only thing that needed to be done was the amending the village map to include the property. Because of the, and I've met with Steve Sainer today, and he gave me the materials that I needed, and I'm going to work with Greg on that. Because of the matter that's on for new business item B, I had suggested to Greg that we hold off on the map because it would have to be changed again to show Legacy Drive after the dedication. But basically speaking, all we have to do now is to work with SACPA to get the amended village map, and that will be given to the county, and we're all set.
Beautiful. Okay.
And the county does provide those services at no cost to the village.
Well, that's nice to hear. I had heard that rumor, but, you know, sometimes you find out there isn't.
Right.
No free lunches, you know. All right, so we're in pretty good shape with that. Item B, update employee handbook. Anything new, Steve, with?
Well, the Public Works Committee talked about it today, and I think what they've decided is that they would like for
Mo and I and Mike to take and compile all of the changes that we've made to the existing handbook and get that as a revised copy to the board for review and consideration for acceptance. In the meantime, make a decision as to whether or not we believe that a total revamping of the handbook is necessary. And if it is, we can proceed with that. But in the meantime, we will have had a revised handbook. The effort's already been into the revision, so we might as well take advantage of it. So if that's what the board would like to do, I can work with Mo to, I think Greg tried to scan that one. We might have an electronic version. And if we do, we have something to work with. If we don't, we're going to have some typing to do. But Danny, do you type? We'll need to somehow get that to you, and we will identify by strikes and underlines what the new sections are, what the modifications are. And then following that review, you can make a determination as to whether or not you think that's a sufficient handbook for the village, or whether or not you think something new needs to be developed, and we can go from there. Sounds good. What's the rest of you think? I mean, obviously, two of you were in on that discussion, but Mike, Ruth, thoughts?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good.
Right price, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've done all that work. At least we'll have something in the meantime, because anything else we do, I mean, it's gonna take a while. So, very good. Thanks, Steve. New business. Item A, discussion possible action regarding a proposed local law to amend provisions in the Downer Street Plan Development District.
This is a continuation of our project to take the planned development districts, which had only been changed on the map, and put the provisions relative to those districts into our code, which our code actually requires. We've done 2 of them so far, and now we have the Downer Street. And again, this is the area where the Tri-County Mall used to be, and the development has gone in. And there are no real rules. If you go to our code book to find out what you can do there, you won't find anything. So what the planning board had recommended was that we basically incorporate the recommendations and the uses and regulations that had been on the site maps and on the site plans that were approved by the planning board, and incorporate those into our code.
Right.
And I think everybody's got a copy of this.
Yes, they do.
So I think it'd be appropriate to hold a public hearing at the next meeting. And
All right. What will that be, the 20th? That's the 20th, right?
Yes.
They get a motion to hold a public hearing to consider the Downer Street Plan Development District
7:30?
at 7:30 on the 20th.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. So June 20th, 7:30, public hearing. All right. Item B. I get a motion for the Village of Baldwinsville to accept Legacy Drive for dedication. There's a resolution. You want to look at it? Do we need to read that, Bob?
no, that's, everyone's has it. Just to bring everybody up to date, the site plan for Golden Legacy, which is across the street from Syracuse Home, was approved on February 7th, 2006, with several contingencies. It was reviewed very carefully, and one of them was the dedication of the strip in front and construction pursuant to village requirements. For some reason, the dedication never took place. So the legacy is being sold to a new purchaser, and as a result of their due diligence, they discovered that that road was never dedicated. If you look at our zoning map, you'll see that it doesn't show, or the county tax map doesn't show as a village road. So we now have the descriptions. I've been provided by the attorney for Legacy, and I've also dealt with the attorney for the Syracuse Home. We have 2 proposed deeds. for the strip that goes from Meggs Road all the way to the end of the property. And so it'll continue a little bit beyond where the road actually, the paved portion of the road actually ends. It goes about 40 feet beyond. And I am going to be getting title insurance to make sure that the title to this property is correct. There's going to be some borrowing on the acquisition of Golden Legacy, and I've had discussions about making sure that when that closes, that if either one of two things is going to happen. Either we get a release from the mortgage for the 40-foot strip, which is on that side of the road, or their surveyor is going to write up a description for the mortgage covering the property that's not going to include that 40-foot strip. So one way or the other, when we finally record the deeds, I will be assured that there are no liens on that property. But this would be good for us. Again, I've talked with Steve about it, and from what I've been able, what I understand, it was constructed relative to village standards. It was topped off correctly. It may need some maintenance as we go forward, like a lot of village roads do. But
We've been maintaining that during this time frame,
Yeah, the only maintenance we've done on it to date has been plowing.
so it's in need of work.
It will need work certainly within the next 10 years, maybe as early as the next 6 years.
I mean, it's not a through street.
It's not. As a matter of fact, it's a street that only serves Legacy Apartments. I believe the reason that it was intended to be dedicated is because there was strong belief by the previous administration that there was an interest in extending a road from that location all the way through to Canton Street at some point in time. That was when we had, if you remember a couple years ago, they were talking about building a new facility over there would include a new Canton Woods and a performing arts thing. And one of the plans was to run that road all the way through Canton Street to make it easier to get there. People could avoid Downer Street as much as possible. So I haven't heard anybody clamoring lately for that to be extended. But this is obviously an important step to get this taken care of.
And if there is future development there, then as part of that site plan, there would be either hammerhead or cul-de-sac, probably a cul-de-sac, which would take care of future traffic coming in and out. So it would be good to have it, I think, as part of the village road system, so that, among other things, it could be maintained, and the village can also have control over the rights of way on either side as to trash being put there or whatever.
So we can approve that tonight?
Yes.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second it.
Any other discussion?
And this is essentially correcting an oversight then, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Do you have something else?
I was looking around to see who was on that board. Chairman Savakul was the chairman of the planning board at that point, and the only person who has had anything to do with this administration that was involved with that was Susan LaQuay, who used to be the secretary for the planning board. So there's nobody we can bring back to tell why it didn't happen, but could be that it was just a change in administration or something that took place.
Yep, all through the cracks somehow. All right, item C. A motion to adopt a bond resolution appropriating $120,000 for the construction of sidewalk improvements within the sidewalk replacement program number 8 area, and authorizing the issuance of $120,000 in bonds to finance said appropriation.
Moved. Second it.
Discussion? Questions?
Is this big or small or?
Well, it's medium size for us. It's about the same size. In the last couple of years, we haven't been bonding for the full amount, have we, Anna? And because we've been bonding for half, with the understanding that the property owners are responsible for half.
we think that may have been a bad practice, or at least a risky practice, because they have the option to do it over the course of 3 years and not immediately. So we could have been caught having to front some money. I think we've just been fortunate that we've had a lot of people who have accepted the option to pay. This year, the reason that I think we should bond for the full amount is because a lot of the sidewalks that we're doing now are on village property. We're talking about doing some sidewalks in the parks. We're talking about a handful of locations that are leader walks at various locations, MacArthur. Artillery, yes. So those are little short leader walks, but yet they're all adding up. And because there's not going to be a property owner contributing to that, I got the thought that we better bond for the full amount. In addition to that, some of the private property owners, the only reason why that's why you see a larger number than maybe what's been there in the past.
Okay. Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item D. Get a motion to approve an application for the correction of village taxes for the property located at 15 Wood Street, tax map number 008-01-11.0 for the 2019-2020 tax year in the amount of $3,202.36. Unpaid code fees in the amount of $3,202.36 were added to this bill in error. The unpaid code fees should be added to the property located at 17.5 Wood Street, tax map number 008-01-11.1.
I'll make that motion.
Can you repeat what I just said?
Sure, if you give me a few minutes. But this, somebody wants to second it, then this motion includes the removal and the addition to the other property.
Yes.
Okay.
And it was the same order.
Okay.
Just making it correct. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, item E, can I get a motion to appoint James A. Testani as a full-time police officer at a salary of $61,771 with an effective date of June 29th, 2019, pending his successful passing of a psychological examination and a medical examination. This is a budgeted position.
I'll move it.
Second.
Any questions for the chief?
We don't want to do the psychological evaluation first?
Well, that's why it's indicated pending. He's got those scheduled for early next week. This allows us to have him come on board on the 29th. He's presently a police officer in the city of Norwich. He's been there nearly 3 years, and I'll have more information on him at the next board meeting, where he'll be here to be sworn in by the mayor. But he's a Lemoyne graduate and likes this area, and would like to have his career up here in the Syracuse area. And we feel he'll be an excellent addition to the organization.
Can you refresh my memory on the process? Obviously, he's been an officer for 3 years, so he doesn't have to go to the academy.
Correct.
But you have a process in-house that he needs to go through.
Yes, we have a field training program. Because he's got some experience as a police officer, we'll modify that, meaning we're going to shorten it. He won't need as long of a program. He will need some time, though, to be brought up to speed on our particular rules and procedures, as well as our records management system here in Onondaga County, our interaction with the 911 center, familiarity with the village, all those types of things, which will take a little bit of time. But once we feel he's squared away and ready to go, we'll have him out patrolling, and my guess would be, 4 months at the outset.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item F, can I get a motion to authorize the police department to purchase a 2019 Ford Police SUV patrol vehicle at a cost of $52,192.07, and authorizing Mayor Clark to sign the loan documents from Salve Bank for this purchase. Again, this is a budgeted item.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any more discussion? Any discussion for the chief? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item G, can I get a motion to declare the following items from the code office as surplus? A working HP laser printer that had originated in the justice court and a broken Epson scanner.
I'll make that motion. Good luck with the Epson scanner.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Can I get a motion, well, before we go to pay bills, any last minute business we need to discuss that didn't get brought up? No. Okay. Can I get a motion to pay bills as audited?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Can I get a motion to adjourn at 8:26?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. See you in 2 weeks.